Right, lads. Last revision topic, I think that'll bring us up to 15 videos, and I try to keep them short, is that of farm pollution, pollution and farm waste. Okay, so look, Mr. McGuire's taught you through that. What I've done is I've sort of identified from the past papers and all that I've seen, look, what I rate as the key topics, all right? So, right, we'll go at this from the start. Give me a sec, boys, and we're off. All right. So, first question, well, what are the main farm pollutants? You should be fine on those, but just be careful on how you're supposed to manage silage effluent storage, making sure it doesn't get to waterways, yard water as well, that sort of thing, that there's supposed to be tanks for it, and so on, where it's kept properly, all right? Air pollution on a farm, be clear enough on that. Methane, obviously from the slurry and so on, and ammonia into the air when the slurry's being spread. And then I suppose at the very other end of the scale, you've got CO2 whenever your tractor's bailing along the field and the Fiat 11090 and a rip of smoke out of her. All right. And noise pollution is usually just from machinery as well. All right. So, key topics then. I feel number one is eutrophication. All right. It's very topical. I suppose it was topical last year as well, and the year before. Hasn't come up amazingly since 2021. All right, lads, you absolutely have to be able to describe the eutrophication process as in Lough Neagh and everywhere else. All right, simple as. Make sure you're able to do that. Number two, the whole idea of slurry application, the whole idea of, just be careful that you're clear on what the dribble bar, the trailing shoe, the shallow injection does, and why the splash plate was banned, which is back to the whole ammonia thing. All right, and basically, I suppose the low emission ones are almost better as well in terms of how they get the nitrogen right into the soil rather than spread over the top of it. GPS, I think it also cropped up in farm technology, lads. It's just about accurate application, which is about efficiency, and efficiency is one of those big words. All right. The Nitrates Directive. Okay, the Nutrient Action Programme, Northern Ireland being a nitrate vulnerable zone. You bet it is. Look at the shape of Lough Neagh. Okay, look, make sure you know the details on the close spreading periods, the idea that there are nitrogen limits that you're supposed to keep on the ground, and the rules for the protection of water courses, the distance that you're away from lakes, distance from river banks, waterways, etc. I'm sure you have that. Those are the key ideas. And also the rules about, when you're allowed to spread, no frosty weather, not on slopey hills in wet weather, not in monsoon rain conditions where it's going to clearly just go straight down the drain, etc. All right. Next topic, biological oxygen demand. I'm weak on this one, guys, but it and the idea that you can have invertebrate species as indicators of water quality. So what are the key indicator species? So it's that idea that, what can survive where, what would you expect to see in certain areas, and then what informs causes biological oxygen demand. All right. A couple of years ago, a question came up on, how do anaerobic digesters work and what are the advantages and disadvantages of them? Okay, there are advantages, but there are a lot of disadvantages. The sheer scale of the cost of them, high maintenance, very technological, very difficult planning process required before you can put them in. There's three. Okay, the advantages are, well, look, it is a renewable energy source. It is can also the digestate at the end can become a source of fertilizer, and I suppose, look, it reduces a farm's carbon footprint. So there's three and three off the top of your Uncle Brendy's head. All right, reed beds, guys. How do they work? Are they viable in Ireland? Yes, they're viable, but of course they're no good for slurry and larger stuff. Okay, they're grand for effluent and yard runoff and that sort of stuff. Okay, bloody hell, is that it? Yep. Okay. So I'll stop sharing that and just very quickly then, lads, I'll just go through the questions that have cropped up on this topic. Pollutant and farm waste questions. So I'm going again. Just give me a wee minute here and I'll rattle through them. I'll bring these glasses down so I have to read this. Right. So starts 2014, never touched. 2015, question 7 was, well, standard types of farm waste. And then The reed bed's got a wee touch, all right. That would be was a lengthy enough one. Then there was one about biological oxygen demand and indicator species. So just take a look at those questions there early on, right? Uh, this is the first one on water pollution in Lough Neagh. I think the questions have become a wee bit more sophisticated over time, all right? That's grand. Nothing in 2017. 2015 again, methods of slurry application. The first another eutrophication, maybe more specific. Reed beds again. You can see, okay. And there we had 2019 anaerobic digestion, two advantages. That's all they looked. I've just given you three. Uh, how can you reduce pollution when you're spreading slurry in a field? Well, we would know now that that would be spread in the right kind of conditions and use a low emission slurry spreading equipment. BOD again, and a question about what species. And then 2021, you had a full 9-pointer on eutrophication. Very possible again, in my view, lads, I gotta say. 2022, that was the simple anaerobic digester, advantages and disadvantages, probably they're looking two of each. 23, the one about the low emission slurry spreading. And there's stuff about the rules. 24, eutrophication again. All right, did I say it hadn't cropped up as 2021? Well, there it was 2024, talking down there. Effluent, how can you reduce the amount of silage effluent? Well, dry your grass when you're making it. And how can they prevent silage? Well, make sure that you have a proper runoff for it, that you maybe have a drain or something like that is blocked. Air pollution, noise pollution, that's fine. So there was nothing. The big point to make, lads, maybe is look, there was nothing in 2025 from the entire pollution and farm waste topic area, which makes me think there will be this time. All right. Small things like that are worth bearing in mind. Stop sharing. Okay, lads, that's it. That's my last topic with you guys.